Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to Shloka Day. Today's Shloka is Shlokas 21 and 22 of chapter 1. And Arjuna is speaking. Arjuna uvacha
Arjuna uvacha
Senayor ubhayor madhye
Senayor ubhayor madhye
Ratham sthapayamechyuta
Ratham sthapayamechyuta
Yavadetan niriksheham
Yavadetan niriksheham
Yodhukamanavasthitan
Yodhukaman avasthitan
Kairmaya sahayodhavyam
Kairmaya sahayodhavyam
Asmin ranasamudyame.
Asmin rana samudyame.
Okay, word for word meaning translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Arjunaha uvacha.
Arjunaha uvacha.
Arjuna said.
Arjuna said.
Senayoho.
Senayoho.
Of the armies.
Of the army.
Ubayoho.
Ubayoho.
Both.
Both.
Madhye.
Madhye.
Between.
Between.
Ratham.
Ratham.
Just chariot.
The chariot.
Sthapaya.
Sthapaya.
Please keep.
Please keep.
May.
May.
My.
My.
Achyuta.
Achyuta.
O infallible one.
O infallible one.
Yavat.
Yavat.
As long as.
As long as.
Etan.
Etan.
All these.
All these.
Nirikshe.
Nirikshe.
May look upon.
May look upon.
Aham.
Aham.
I.
Yodhukaman.
Desiring to fight.
Desiring to fight.
Avasthitan.
Avasthitan.
Arrayed on the battlefield.
Arrayed on the battlefield.
Kaihi.
Kaihi.
With whom?
With whom?
Maya.
Maya.
By me.
By me.
Saha.
Saha.
Together.
Together.
Yodhavyam.
Yodhavyam.
Have to fight.
Have to fight.
Asmin.
Asmin.
In this.
In this.
Rana.
Rana.
Strife.
Strife.
Samudyame.
Samudyame.
In the attempt.
In the attempt.
Translation. Arjuna said.
Arjuna said.
O infallible one.
O infallible one.
Please draw my chariot.
Please draw my chariot.
Between the two armies.
Between the two armies.
So that I may see.
So that I may see.
Those present here.
Those present here.
Who desire to fight.
Who desire to fight.
And with whom.
And with whom.
I must contend.
I must contend. In
this great trial of arms.
In this great trial of arms.
So, Arjuna has spoken for the first time. And what are we hearing Arjuna say? Arjuna is instructing Krishna. Of course, he's being very polite. But what was Arjuna's request? That Krishna should put the chariot between the two armies so that Arjuna can see for himself who all are here, with whom he must battle with in this particular war. So essentially Arjuna is asking Krishna to put a chariot in a particular position. So Prabhupada writes, although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. The Lord also enjoys serving his devotees. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. So sometimes even the devotee gives instruction to the Lord. The Lord is very obedient, trying to make sure that their devotee is happy. So here, Prabhupada is writing that the word Achyuta is used by Arjuna, and the word Achyuta means infallible. Infallible means somebody who never makes a mistake. So even in following his devotee's instruction, the Lord does not make a mistake. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hrishikesha, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. So you see, it's always a two-way street in a relationship. You are always trying to serve someone and the other person is trying to serve you. So there is no difference, except that this kind of service is very transcendental. It is always bliss. So the servitor is always ready to serve the Lord. And the Lord is equally anxious to serve the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees, assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. So how beautifully Prabhupada is writing. The Lord enjoys it when you order him. The Lord enjoys it when you try to boss him. But this only happens in Vrindavan. It doesn't happen anywhere else. In Vrindavan, Subal can say, Krishna, you cheated. Now you have to carry me on your shoulders. And Krishna says, okay, he will fight a little while, claiming he did not cheat. He never cheats. But then in the end, he will cave in. So here, Prabhupada is saying, when the Lord is engaged with his pure devotees, we're not talking about any devotee here. This is a pure devotee. The pure devotee can order the Lord around, and the Lord becomes very obedient. Since he is master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. So the Lord feels a little lonely, and nobody is instructing me what to do. I'm always the one giving instructions. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. So, a devotee wants to give bliss to the Lord. Of course, the Lord is Atmanam. He is always blissful. But when Mother Yashoda tries to tie up Krishna, he is in bliss because he's thinking, look, my servant is trying to tie me up. I am the master and we have switched positions. The servant is trying to tie the master. Of course, the servant cannot tie the master unless the master consents. So in that Damodar Leela pastime, the Lord consents to be tied by Mother Yashoda. And finally, she is able to tie him up. But she was not successful in multiple tries until the Lord said, okay, chalo, you want to tie me up. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. In this morning's class, we were discussing Kunti's prayers. as part of the Stutis series. In that particular, there was a lecture that Prabhupada gives in Mayapur on, I think it is the 19th shloka or 20th shloka. And Prabhupada says there are two reasons why we are disobedient to the Lord. One is we don't know He is the Lord. So that is out of ignorance. Second reason is, Prabhupada says the Jivatma is very stubborn. So when you're stubborn, you're not willing to listen. Right? Here, Arjuna really did not want to fight. But he was forced in this position because of Duryodhana. And Duryodhana qualifies for those two things, obstinate and ignorant. So here Prabhupada is using the word, because of the obstinacy of Duryodhana, there was no other way than to fight. Therefore, he is very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted law. Prabhupada says that it is the nature of a Kshatriya to rule. So if a Kshatriya does not have a kingdom, then they cannot utilize their God-given talent to provide governance. Therefore, Krishna asked, at least just 5 villages for the 5 Pandavas. And then, of course, when Duryodhana saw how successful they were in getting Indraprastha, how opulent the Pandavas were in such a short period of time, certainly he didn't want to give even the size of a land, the size of the pinhead. So Arjun was a skilled warrior, and the most powerful Hanuman was sitting on top of his magnificent chariot. Moreover, his devotion towards the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna was such that the Lord himself had agreed to be Arjuna's chariot. Here, Arjuna was seated on the passenger seat, giving instructions to Sri Krishna, his charioteer. He addresses the Lord as Achyuta, the most dependable one, and requests him to place the chariot in the middle of the battlefield. From Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse in Canto 9, 4th chapter, 63rd verse. Aham bhakta paradhino hyasvantantra iva dvija sadhubhir grasta kridayo bhaktaihi bhaktat janapriyaha. Where the Lord is saying, although I am supremely independent, the word used for that is Swarat. The Lord is Swarat, independent. He does not come under the control of anyone. Yet, the Lord says, I become enslaved by my devotees. They are very dear to me, and I become indebted to them for their love. So it's not the amount of wealth that you offer to the Lord. It's not the amount of poetry that you offer to the Lord. It's not anything else other than how much you love the Lord. The more you love the Lord, the more the Lord feels indebted to you. And he doesn't know what to do, because the pure devotee loves the Lord so much that they don't ask the Lord for anything. And the Lord is thinking, Arey Baba, ask something, because otherwise my debt is constantly increasing. And the Lord is worried, if the debt keeps increasing, when am I going to pay back my pure devotees? But the pure devotee is not looking for a payback. They just want an opportunity to serve the Lord with love. Such is the beauty of God's bond with his devotees, that he gets enslaved, beholden by his devotees' love. So this is the beautiful relationship that the Lord has with his devotees. We'll read his Grace Chaitanya-Charan's commentary. How the Gita's initial plot twist increases the appeal of its central message. Good movies often use plot twists to captivate their audiences. When events are moving in a particular direction and suddenly something unexpected happens, that makes for irresistible watching. For example, if a hero suddenly does something villainous or cowardly, that can be a great plot twist. The Bhagavad Gita features such a great plot twist in its first chapter. When the Gita's first 20 verses describe the armies of the Pandavas and the Kauravas assembled on the Kurukshetra battlefield, several describers suggest that events are flowing toward the triumph of the Pandavas. Their formidable military formation rattles Duryodhana, who then tries to reassure both himself and his forces. During his speech, Duryodhana, through an ambiguous choice of words, or possibly a Freudian slip of the tongue, lets his fear slip through. He states inadvertently that the Pandavas' forces are stronger than his. When both sides blow their conch shells to signify the start of the war, the sound of the Kauravas' conch shells doesn't disturb the Pandavas, but the sound of the Pandavas' conch shells shatters the Kauravas' heart. So, what is the plot twist? The plot twist is that, based on all the shlokas that we heard, Duryodhana himself feels that Pandavas are in an advantageous position because they have great warriors on their side, even though their overall count of personnel, army personnel, is much lower than what the Kauravas have. So the plot twist is that it seemed assured that the Pandavas would be victorious. But then the plot twist is Arjuna asking Krishna to pull the chariot in between the two armies. Yet, when the Pandavas seem to be on course to a glorious victory, suddenly their foremost warrior, the champion archer Arjuna, desires to see the opponents instead of attacking them. Well, you did hear that Arjuna picked up his bow and arrow. After picking up his bow and arrow, he's saying, Krishna, go there, I want to see who's come. He doesn't start the war. Then he becomes emotionally overwhelmed, which we will come to in the future. Articulates several ethical reservations about the impending war, and finally refuses to fight. For a fearless warrior like Arjuna to be overcome by fear on the battlefield is so unexpected and so unbelievable as to raise several burning questions such as, what will happen next? How will Krishna address Arjuna's concerns? What will Arjuna finally do? When we seek answers to such questions through the Gita's narrative, its philosophical analysis becomes much more riveting and relevant. By describing Arjuna's refusal to fight, just when the Pandavas seem to be on course to a victory, the Gita introduces an incredible plot twist that raises the interest and the stakes in its core philosophical deliberations. So you also have to keep the audience engaged in what's going on. And the plot twist is Arjuna asking Krishna to draw the chariot and then later on getting overwhelmed with everything that he sees. So Arjuna has called Krishna Achyuta multiple times in the Bhagavad Gita. So we're just going to analyze what this Achyuta really means and why the same name is being utilized multiple times. The Gita's triple use of Achyuta. The Bhagavad Gita uses various names for Krishna and Arjuna, not just for literary variety or poetic symmetry, but also and primarily to subtly convey pertinent theological points. Consider the Gita's three uses of the name Achyuta, the infallible one, to refer to Krishna. These usages mark key phases in Arjuna's and our devotional journey. Let's see how. Arjuna's first words to Krishna in Shloka 22, when Arjuna changes his plan and desires to observe his opponents instead of fighting them, he acknowledges Krishna's reliability by using the epithet Achyuta, though he knew that his request was unusual, he expressed his confidence that Krishna would not refuse or reject him. See, that is the devotee's faith of the Lord. The devotees know that the Lord will always protect them. The Lord is always merciful and kind to them. Even if we seek to do something unproductive or counterproductive, Krishna doesn't abandon us. So Krishna didn't get irritated with Arjuna saying, yeah, you lifted your bow and arrow, why don't you just go ahead and get the war started? Why all of a sudden you are asking me to put the chariot in between? Doesn't make sense. Because we understand that Krishna himself organizes for this, orchestrates this. Arjuna's first address to Krishna after apologizing to him. Now we have to go to the 11th chapter, 42nd shloka, when Achyuta is being used again. So after the first chapter, the next time Arjuna is calling Krishna Achyuta is in the 42nd verse of the 11th chapter. After seeing Krishna's awe-inspiring universal form, Arjuna realized that he had taken the all-powerful deity so cheaply. Fervently seeking Krishna's forgiveness, he addressed him again as Achyuta, conveying thus his confidence that the infallible Lord would not fail to excuse him. After acting wrongly, if we just seek forgiveness sincerely, Krishna doesn't hold our past against us. Actually, it's very important to beg for forgiveness from the Lord every day, because there are many mistakes that we make knowingly or unknowingly. For both of them, we have to ask the Lord for forgiveness. There are a lot of things that we do without even thinking, which is wrong. And then there are a few things that we do willingly, which we know is wrong. So we have to be sincere with the Lord when we approach Him and express ourselves honestly when we approach Him. Because He is your dear friend. He will hear you. He's a good listener. Did you know that? Krishna is a very good listener. Arjuna's last words to Krishna. Now, again, Arjuna is going to call Krishna Achyuta. So in the first chapter, in the 11th chapter, and now we're going to go to the 18th chapter, the 73rd verse. After the Gita's wisdom has enlightened and energized him, Arjuna attributes his positive transformation to the grace of Krishna, whom he calls Achyuta. Through this usage, he highlights how Krishna has successfully bailed him out of trouble, thus living up to his earlier promise. No matter what problems face us, if we seek shelter and wisdom in Krishna's words, his light and love will surely see us through. The Gita's use of the divine appellation Achyuta in Arjuna's starting request, apologetic glorification, and concluding appreciation conveys how the Lord unfailingly stays with us through all our choices, good and bad. So the Lord is seated within us as Paramatma, so He never abandons us. He's always there. But if we want Him to be active in our lives, then we have to express that to the Lord. And we have to have that kind of relationship where we have that freedom to tell the Lord, you please guide me. I'm not capable of making the right choices. So you please always guide me so I'm on the right path and I'm always headed in your direction. I'm always seeing you as my ultimate goal. So an interesting way of looking at how Arjuna's mood is going to change now, suddenly, and the various uses of calling Krishna Achyuta in different chapters, the first chapter, the 11th chapter, and then the 18th chapter, with Arjuna's mood also changing. Here he feels Krishna is not going to let him down. He is going to go in between the two armies. In the 11th chapter, he feels ashamed that he has taken Krishna like as if he is a personal friend and he is not the Supreme Lord. So he has forgotten that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So he's apologetic and he's thinking, since I'm apologizing, I'm sure you will forgive me for being very familiar with you. And then, of course, in the 18th chapter, that Krishna somehow or the other had always taken care of Arjuna. So that feeling of surrender, the feeling that the Lord is always with you and on your side. So this is the beauty of the relationship between a pure devotee and the Supreme Lord.
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.